Okay, let's start reading Singenpoo Shoots Through by Paul Jennings. Another one of the Singenpoo books. Chapter 1. Brilliant, I said to my cat Singenpoo. Well done. Singenpoo didn't seem to hear. She had her paw on the mouse and she wasn't taking it off. Elephant, yelled out a kid in the crowd. Singenpoo clicked on the word elephant and the computer played a little tune. The crowd clapped loudly. Good girl, I whispered. Banana, shouted an old lady. Singenpoo gave a small purr and clicked the mouse again. The word banana lit up on the screen and the jingly tune filled the air. The crowd went wild. They had never seen a cat that could read before. She's a fake as well, said the boss. Oh, what's going on? I missed a page. Sorry, missed a page. There we go. That's all, folks, said the boss. That's the end of the show for today. The audience stood up and started to file out of the tent. The boss put a hand on my shoulder. Good stuff, Scott, he said. The crowd loves your act. You're hired, you and the cat. I grinned and stroked Singenpoo's fur. A Christmas act in a carnival. Terrific. Much better than my last job at Major Mac's takeaway chicken shop. I couldn't go back there after he was so mean to Singenpoo. I just hoped my new boss was going to be better. Thanks a million, I said to the boss. This job means a lot to me. I need the money because Mum is on the pension and we're behind with the rent. You've got a good act, said the boss. A cat pretending to read. It's a great trick, and those glasses are a terrific touch. Thanks, I said, but it's not a trick. Singenpoo can read as well as I can, and the glasses are real. She needs them for the small print. The boss gave a loud laugh. Don't give me that, he said. Cats can't read. I know a fake act when I see one. Which reminds me, come and meet Felicity. He took me to the next tent and pointed at a large water tank. She's a fake as well. Wow, I said. She looks real. She did too. Felicity's hair was long and fair, and her tail sparkled like a fish with wet scales. She seemed genuine to me. The boss chuckled to himself. Of course she looks real. No one is going to pay to see a mermaid if she looks phony. She can even move her tail, I said. How does she do that? You tell me the trick to your cat, said the boss, and I'll tell you the trick to the mermaid. Singenpoo can read, I yelled. Singenpoo is not a fake. There is no trick. The boss laughed. Fair enough, he said. You keep your secrets if you want to. He gave a sign to Felicity the mermaid, and she slipped out of her tank and flopped around on the floor. Singenpoo gave a little meow and licked her lips. She couldn't take her eyes off the mermaid. It's not a fish, Singenpoo, I said. It's not even a mermaid, really. This is Scott and Singenpoo, the boss said to Felicity. They are our new act. Felicity quivered and waved her tail around. Singenpoo crouched like a hunter. Oh no, I knew what that meant. I tried to stop her. Singen! I yelled, too late. She pounced on the mermaid's tail with her claws out and gave it a nip. She bit right into the rubber tail and tried to chew. Felicity screamed. Get her off me, she yelled. I reached down and grabbed Singenpoo. Felicity reached down and unzipped her tail. She pulled it right off and scrambled to her feet. The rubber fishtail lay still and lifeless on the floor of the tent. Poor Singenpoo started to shake. She was scared out of her wits by the strange sight of the mermaid ripping off its tail. I'm sorry, I said, but Singenpoo thought you were food. She just couldn't help herself. Felicity hitched up her bikini and stared at Singenpoo. A sad look came over her face. Pets should be kept locked up, she said, where they can't do any harm. Then she turned and walked off toward her caravan without another word. Don't worry about it, said the boss. It gets cold swimming around in that tank all day. It makes her miserable. Come on, I'll show you where you're going to live. I picked up Singenpoo and gave her a rub. It's okay, girl, I said. I'll look after you. No one will ever come come between us, no matter what. Don't do that, mate. The boss showed us around the carnival. There were lots of acts and sideshows. A fire eater, a volcano blowing out balls with lucky numbers on them, knock 'em downs, a rocket to Mars, dodge 'em cars, about 6 rides including the Mad Mouse and the Jaws of Death. There was also an elephant, a juggling dog and a 2-headed rabbit. The rabbit is a fake, said the boss, but the elephant is real. You're joking, I said. I was disappointed that so many of the acts were fakes. Not like Singenpoo. I couldn't wait to show the next crowd what she could do. The boss took us around the back of the tent to the performers' caravans. We walked past one with a mermaid painted on the side. I knew who that belonged to. The door suddenly opened and a man stepped out. Not a woman, not a mermaid. A very sad-looking man. He glanced our way and started to shuffle off. Singenpoo began to purr. She seemed very interested in him. Uh-oh, said the boss. Jack's out. This means trouble. Felicity's face appeared at the van door. Jack, she yelled in a loud voice, come back here. The poor guy stopped dead in his tracks. At first I thought he was going to run for it, but he slowly made his way back to the caravan. He looked so unhappy as he disappeared back into the van with Felicity. Poor old Jack, said the boss. He gets the wanders. The boss showed us our van, a beat-up old thing with paint peeling off and cracks in the window. Get a good night's sleep, he said, as we made our way inside. The van was very small, but it was home. I was excited about living with the carnival people. This is just the start, I said to Singenpoo. You and I will make a lot of money for Mum. Singenpoo didn't seem to be listening. She was looking out the window at Felicity's van, and there was the man inside staring back. He had the saddest eyes I had ever seen. They seemed to be saying, help, please help. Suddenly Felicity appeared next to him at the window. She looked across at us and closed the curtains. There's something not quite right going on in there, I said to Singenpoo. I started to worry. Why was a grown-up being treated like a little kid? Singenpoo jumped out of the window without a purr and went off to explore. I closed the curtains and started to cook tea. Tomorrow we would be performing for the whole day, and I had to get to bed early. It would be our first real day working at the carnival, and I didn't want anything to go wrong. Chapter 2. A loud scream woke me the next morning. A terrible, high-pitched shriek. I pulled on my clothes and headed out of the door. Come on, Singenpoo, I yelled. Something's wrong. Singenpoo scrambled under the bed. She didn't want to come. I started to get worried. Singenpoo seemed to know something that I didn't. Why was she so frightened? I reached under the bed, grabbed her trembling body, and hurried past Felicity's van. The same second, the same scared, lonely face was looking out. What was going on? Who was that man? This wasn't the time to find out. I hurried past the juggler's stand and the fairy floss sellers toward the main tent where the scream had come from. A group of clowns were poking their heads inside the tent, laughing. How could they be laughing when someone inside was screaming in terror? I soon found out. Felicity stood there beside her tank holding her rubber mermaid's tail and shrieking at the top of her voice. She wasn't frightened, she wasn't hurt, but she was very upset. Yuck! She shouted at the boss. That is foul! Singenpoo was shivering in my arms. It's that cat, she said. It's weird. What? I said. She hasn't done anything. The boss pointed at the mermaid's water tank. 3 little brown things were bobbing around on the surface. The cat has polluted my tank. That's what, said Felicity. I'm not swimming in that. I looked closely. Oh no. Oh yes, 3 pieces of cat poo were floating on top of the water. I could tell by the colour and shape that they belonged to Singenpoo. I would have known them anywhere. Singenpoo, I said, how could you? Why did you? My mind flashed back to the time Singenpoo peed in Major Mac's wine. But that was different. He deserved it. He was a mean man. He lied and cheated, but Felicity hadn't done anything to us. Why didn't Singenpoo like her? Bad girl, I said to Singenpoo. Singenpoo hissed and then jumped out of my arms and shot out of the tent. She scampered across to Felicity's caravan and meowed. The man with the sad face looked out of the window. When he saw Singenpoo, his eyes lit up with pleasure. Why was he so fond of my cat? Singenpoo scratched at the door and meowed again. She was trying to tell us something. Who is that guy? I asked. We call him Silly Jack, said the boss. He sweeps up and does the dishes for Felicity. I felt sorry for Jack. He wasn't allowed out, and he had to do all the yucky jobs. Singenpoo sure liked him. I started to feel a bit jealous. I can't swim in that tank, said Felicity. I'm allergic to cat poo. Don't be a wimp, said the boss. We have a show on soon. It will take all day to empty the water and fill it up again. I'm not swimming in polluted water, she said. Never. I quietly picked up a net and scooped out the poo. Jack will have to go on, said the boss. He won't mind a bit of poo. I don't let Jack swim anymore, said Felicity. You know that. He's past it. Jack loves the water, said the boss. Don't be mean. Felicity thought for a bit. Okay, she said. I'll go and get him. Felicity rushed off and came back with Jack. He was a tall man, and he walked slowly and awkwardly. His skin was all shiny and quite shriveled. He looked like a person who didn't want to live. I felt sorry for him. And so did Singenpoo. She had followed him back from the van. She jumped up straight into his arms. Yes, Singenpoo, my cat. Singenpoo never let anyone pick her up except me. I couldn't believe it. Why was she going to another person? She seemed to be crazy about Jack. I didn't like it. Not one little bit. Singenpoo was purring like mad. It was almost as if she was in love with Jack. I tried to push down my jealous feelings. I'm Scott, I said to Jack. The boss laughed. Jack can't talk, he said. He's never spoken a word in his whole life. The poor man just stared at the floor and held on tightly to Singenpoo. He looked like the unhappiest person in the whole world. But still and all, he wasn't going to get my cat. Singenpoo loved me. Okay, Jack, said the boss, you'll have to go on. Jack squeezed Singenpoo tightly to his chest. He jumped up and down clumsily. He wanted to do an act. Jack gave a nod and hurried off towards their caravan, still carrying Singenpoo. Here, girl, I said to Singenpoo. Puss, puss, puss. Singenpoo didn't come back. She went with Jack. She likes Jack better than me. Why? What had I done to upset her? What was it with Jack?